Hello Elden Ring enjoyers. It is officially 1 month before the launch of Shadow the Erdtree. With that, we have a new surprise trailer. A second trailer for the DLC, and its first cinematic one, story focused specifically, that's providing some real context to what we're going into. Just kidding. Of course, it's vague imagery and dialogue, and lots of potential meanings to look through. But that is the fun of this, it's speculation. Though I will say, a lot of this seems quite on the nose, at least that last section specifically, to give us some potential answers. This is just my first reaction though, to look at all of this, what it tells us, my first speculation, based on also information we've got from the first trailer and interviews with Miyazaki himself, as I've been covering this the whole way. So let's get started from the top. Through the whole trailer, we have a voiceover telling a story and providing context. So we'll cover that shortly. First though, let's look at what's presented to us. This is the beginning. What we see here is what I believe obviously is Marika, the queen who began the Golden Order in the first place. Now in this horrible, squishy environment, she's delving her hand into the bloody remains of something. This thing, from it she grasps a golden light that almost trails out from whatever its resting place was. This imagery, to me, suggests a birth where Marika's taking the power, the stillbirth power, stealing it based on the voiceover, snatching it from whatever this womb represents. From there, she slowly walks these bloody steps higher and higher, back up to the light, potentially the surface. There, she holds this power aloft, and it arcs out in golden light, appearing to be a rune of power. We know from the ancient Farum Azula that the Elden Ring existed before Marika, and how Placidusax was a previous Elden Lord before all of that. This arc then could be a rune that was introduced to the Elden Ring, changing it entirely, and the power that it emanates here is obviously immense, shaking the land, whipping up the wind. We get a wider shot of this scene to follow, and it's fascinating. It's like a giant gate that's made from people. They're not actually grasping or writhing like I thought they would be. They seem to be completely still. Essentially a giant tower of bodies on either side, basically forming an entrance. Down the steps that she walked up is all the blood and horror though. Behind her appears to be a whole area of just that. Wherever she claimed that rune, it's like she's just come from a hell. Who are all these bodies? My first connection here is the catacombs in the original game. Do you remember at the end of all the catacombs, you'd have a weird room with roots and lots of bodies wrapping themselves around and in them? If this location is actually within or under this strange Erdtree we see in the DLC, perhaps that's what really lies under the Erdtree we know today. The idea that our bodies return to the tree, the remembrances that we gather from bosses. Instead of their souls returning to the tree, the crucible, before the Golden Order, would be physically buried into it or under it or within it. The catacombs were a way to do that in different locations though, because the tree is massive and its roots would spread wide and far, deep into the earth. So as you would dig down, you'd find the roots, and then they would create these catacombs and bury their dead there to return them to the tree of sorts. What happens with Marika and the Golden Order is this kind of ethereal power, the soul, the spiritual version of it, their remembrances. When we defeat Morgott properly, we see how his essence is basically taken from his body and sent into the tree. His body remains on the ground, just dead, empty, but he was accepted by the tree in the end, just like he wanted to be. Before that was possible though, I think his body would have physically needed to be buried into it, and I think that's what the Crucible Order did do. If we're thinking this scene is a hell of sorts, or like a different dimension, could this be what happens to those bodies? The souls return to the tree. They form up here and stack up like this, creating a hellish scape of bodies. Or rather, is this just what's meant to happen in the Crucible Order? This is how they did it. It's definitely interesting to think about. I'm looking forward to lots of speculation on that topic. If this location really is under this new weird Shadow the Erdtree, I'm going to go ahead and assume that we're going to work our way through these lands to the tree, go into it, and that very well could be a final fight room or location surrounded by all these bodies, very Bloodborne-esque. But here's the voiceover for this section. Miquella the Kind spoke of the beginning, the seduction and the betrayal, an affair from which gold arose, and so too was Shadow born. What followed was a war unseen. So yeah, this is the start, and Marika and a seduction of some kind, and then a betrayal that results in this event. Marika seduced someone. Marika was seduced by someone to do this, by the power that was offered from, say, the Elden Beast and the higher being it serves. Who knows? But the betrayal may have been taking this power and using it for the Golden Order. Gold arose, which very well could mean the Golden Order, but also Shadow 2 was born, which could mean the Shadowlands we go into in the DLC. Ultimately, a war occurred in a place unseen, this realm of Shadow, and we have a lot to look at here, but it's a lot more shallow visually and, lore-wise in this section compared to the first one. There's just a lot of fire and blood and two different factions fighting. We have this big shot of multiple sins of war, as leveled by Elden Ring themselves via a post on its official Twitter, burning tons of victims within itself like a Roman wickerman, collecting people and just popping them up there. Pretty horrible. Clearly there was two factions here though, with one faction winning. We have what appears to be monster men. The Crucible faction is my guess, being slaughtered by a golden faction alongside the fire and sin style magic. The voiceover claims this was a purge without grace or honor, while showing this shot of Messmer sending his heretical flame while he's also covered in snakes even then. The boss we expect to fight, or one that just appears like it, a Crucible mix of creatures headed by a lion, is facing Messmer and clearly doesn't win, because the scene that follows is not one, but three of those things on spikes hanging in the background. Messmer's just doing what he must love to, which is impale. He's called, and was revealed in the first trailer at the end, Messmer the Impaler. Obviously he has that big spear. We don't see much of it other than when he impales the player during a fight scene. This must be why he has that name. During this big war, he impaled a lot of things. You got three other huge Crucible beasts spiked behind, alongside a lot of more normal humanistic shapes. So Marika took what appeared to be a great rune, creating gold and shadow. War resulted, in which a purge then occurred. So successful was that purge that no one was left behind to spread that information, to talk about what happened here. What is next? Here's the voiceover. And so, kindly Miquella would abandon everything. His golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate. But we are not deterred. We chose to follow. Will you walk with us? The shots we get during that are quite cool. We see clear images of this new glowing gold light with a golden ring and a cross through it. These are the new graces of the DLC in my opinion. Mechanically they're going to work the same as bonfires or graces. You'll be drawn to them probably through similar golden rays, or maybe instead in the air they'll have golden lines on the ground, since that seems to be suggested here. We see how a character presses the ground, a line of gold kind of forms in a direction pointing to one of these new things. They aren't just anything, and for now we'll be calling them footsteps of Miquella. They're places Miquella was, and he left behind these things for his followers to guide them on the right path. We'll follow these straight to the main objectives of the DLC, I assure you. Here's a quote about this from Miyazaki during an interview months ago. Essentially, the player will be following in those footsteps, in the same way that they followed the blessings from the grace, the sights of grace in the lands between. They'll be following in Miquella's footsteps, and these will guide them through the land of shadow and reveal that motivation to them. So that's what these new golden symbols are. They are essentially mechanically, functionally, and new graces, and they will lead us to the main objectives in the DLC. Lore-wise, Miquella intentionally gave up a lot to come here. His flesh, his strength, and whatever his original fate was. He appeared ghostly gold in the first trailer, and so to me this confirms that he's not a physical being anymore. He's given up his flesh. He's given up his strength. This leads him in this kind of magical ghost form that's trying to lead us down a path, because maybe physically to do all this, to get here, to open the way for others, he can't physically do it himself anymore. What's really going on there then? I am very interested to find out. Why is he doing this? Also, we learned that other people are going to be here like us. They followed Miquella to the land of shadow to do as Miquella wishes, to help him achieve whatever goal he has here. Or at least that's how it's posed. You know, any of them could betray or do something else. And in theory, we're going to join them to do that. Or maybe betray them, I don't know. It's probably the case that one from this group or faction is the person that helps lead us to the cocoon in the first trailer, opening the way for the DLC. Maybe it's the person doing this voiceover, or just another one in that group. But it gives us context to the various people we saw in trailer 1, you know, these cool shots of a dude with a big great sword or whatever. These are just the people who followed Miquella here, yeah, just like us. But yeah, that's my first reaction and first speculations. I hope this was interesting. Let me know what you guys are thinking. We're going to see how the community at large reacts to all of this, but it is just great to have more to work with, more to talk about, more to speculate on. Now we're just 1 month away. Until next time then, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.